Started. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Crazy Juicy Love podcast. And I have a special guest. I have Paul Getter. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah. So I just love what you do. I think I've been following you for a while. Then when Ralph introduced me, and I was like, oh, okay, I would love to see can we connect and create this podcast.
Yeah.
So, as the famous name that you created for yourself, the internet nerd. So tell me, how did that name? Did you coin that for yourself, or?
People always ask me, how did you come up? They talk about, man, that's a cool branding and everything.
Yeah.
Like, internet marketing nerd, and I'm like, well, it was probably something unintentional. I've always kind of been that nerd, like in my room, you can see I've got posters of
I see you're like
Miracle Shield, and over here in the corner I got boxes of comic books, and that's no joke. And and the glasses are by necessity, and
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been that nerdy, geeky. And I always tell people I was a nerd before it was cool to be a nerd. So I just kind of embraced it, and I don't even know exactly when I said the internet marketing nerd. I said it, and people were like, oh man, I like that. I'm like, man, maybe I'll make that my online name or something.
Right.
It's stuck, and it's been around for a while now.
Yeah, it's with my podcast, the name, people really love when I say juicy love, and people resonate with that tone, and it just came so I studied with Catherine Woodward Thomas, is the author of Calling in the One, and so one day she was coaching someone live, and she said the word juicy, and I just noticed how I felt when the word came up, and then I started trying it with my own clients and how they reacted to the word juicy. So I just I just started playing with it, and I started playing with the name, and people was like, oh yeah, I love that. So I just stuck with it.
Yeah. That's I always had that nerdy side to me, and I think years ago it used to be kind of like an insult, and now people are like, oh, so yeah, it's cool.
I know. So tell everyone what you do, and I'm still curious because I was just reading in your profile, when you sent me your bio, saying, I'm curious, what you did before you got laid off, and then all of a sudden you're inside this, internet marketing. So can you talk to me about that journey?
Yeah. So, people often ask me, how did you become an entrepreneur? And I'm like, I had to pay bills. It wasn't, it was like, when I grew up, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It was like, I got to work to pay bills. And so back in college years ago, I played around with online stuff. And this is, as old as this sounds, this is pre-internet. We were building bulletin board systems and doing AOL and things like that. So years ago. But I always had an intrigue with online and played around with building websites, but kind of fell into the traditional 9-to-5 job working for somebody else. And it just kind of got to the point where, working for employees, and it seemed like a trap. Honestly, one of the last 9-to-5 jobs I was working for, a guy that had an angry personality, was just very aggressive and liked to work around him. But I noticed that he was very successful in the sense that, he had a nice home, nice car, and, he did well for himself, even though he had a horrible personality. So I guess in that, it inspired me to, I kind of said to myself, I'm like, man, this guy's a jerk and he's doing well. I think I could probably do better.
Right.
And so I kind of ventured off into my own thing, building websites and helping people out with social media marketing. And it just kind of evolved from there, where we've had the pleasure of working with some really cool people.
Right. So, I mean, and I was reading too, it's like out of desperation, you created this career. So like, talk to me about that moment. You're like, I gotta leave, I gotta do this, like, because I know this isn't my calling, because I know for myself too, it's like, okay, you have that moment where you walk into work, you're like, I know I don't belong here.
Yeah.
There's something else that's calling and pulling on me to like make this happen. Like, what was that moment for you?
Yeah, so I can actually remember the day. As I mentioned, the boss, the owner of this company, came to the office, and it was the company I worked with was a merchant processing company, so it's kind of a very high demand sales type position, a lot of customer support. It was intense work. And he would come in and just very angry, yelling at people, just, one of these guys just like boss people around, very aggressive. And I remember one particular day he came in and he was just yelling at people, and I was tired of it. When he would leave, people in the office would literally cry. It was just, it wasn't a good environment. And so I remember one day he came in and he was just yelling and everything like that. Finally, I stood up and I started talking with him. I said, man, people cannot handle your attitude around here.
Oh, well, you said that?
Yeah. I was making this a very hostile work environment. And I just kind of expressed what everybody in the office felt. And he said, you keep talking to me like that, you're going to get fired. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm leaving. I'm done. And I was one of his top salesmen and everything like that. And so I left, and I was kind of like, hey, I don't have a job. You know what I mean? Something I was, like I said, I was playing around with internet marketing and social media marketing and building websites. But when I did that, it was kind of like, okay, I'm all in now. I don't have any other choice. And so I kind of dedicated my time into that.
That's really great. I mean, because like for me, it just sounds like that. It's like that willingness to take that jump, that leap, knowing that you don't have that security.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, I always tell people when it comes to entrepreneurship, with a 9-to-5 job, you have a net.
Right.
But you also have a ceiling. You can only go so far.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, you don't have any ceiling. You can go as high as you want, but you also don't have a net. So if things don't work, there's no net to catch you. It's all.
But I'm curious out of that moment, because for me, it's like, okay, so I'm a coach and I still have my second job. It's like, I'm just curious, like what mental spaces you have to go through. Because for me, it's like always a mental thing, or maybe it's not. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do this knowing I'm just going to take a risk. And
so I think there's another part of the equation that is important in this, because I do advise entrepreneurs, because sometimes people make foolish decisions.
Right.
I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and they're homeless.
Yes.
A homeless entrepreneur. So a part of the equation that really made it possible is I had a great wife who she at this time she was an administrator of a hospital, and she did well for herself, and so she helped in that process of obviously we had to make cuts and everything like that, and it was possible for us to for me to invest. And kind of a part of the story in that is there came a point where I knew what I was doing when it came to internet marketing. I knew how to take $1 and turn it to $2 and $3 through running ads effectively and stuff like that. But the challenge was I didn't have a lot of extra money to invest into internet marketing to pay the ads and stuff like that. So, but around December, my wife received a Christmas bonus, and it was thousands of dollars. Like I said, she did very well for herself as an administrator of a hospital. So she received a great Christmas bonus. So I took that Christmas bonus and I put it all into ads.
Oh, wow.
And so, needless to say, she was a little bit hesitant about me doing that, but that was a catalyst of the success that we found in internet marketing, because you do have to have some capital to invest in products and courses and in ad spend. So.
Wow, that's so amazing. Like, it brings me to two questions. Since it's like, a lot of this is what I do is about relationships. So I'm curious, like, what kind of conversation does that look like?
Where'd my Christmas bonus go?
You know what I mean? Because, money is, and making a career transition like that really affects relationships. Yeah. And so even to ask, because I know for me, like when I, my first relationship with my boyfriend, when I was acting at the time, there was at the public theater here in New York City, which is like this prestigious place, and they have this summer program where you can go in and be a part of it, and you had to apply and audition, of course, but it was a 9 to 5 summer program and 6 days a week, which meant I couldn't work. Right. And I brought that conversation up. He was like, no. Yeah. I was like, and then the following year, he did a similar program, and then it's like, well, this is what I'm doing, and you got to work. Yeah, so it doesn't work in that kind of relationship. So I'm curious if what kind of relationship you have with your wife. That's important.
So I think obviously supportive was a key word in this. She's
supportive, yeah.
Very supportive in it, and I think that was due to the fact that I was having some level of success in what I was doing. And so it wasn't like, hey, some guy just if I'm sending $5,000, he'll send me $10,000 back. So it wasn't anything, that she would feel resistant about, that it wasn't possible. But there was risk. And that's, a part of internet marketing and entrepreneurship. It's continual risk. It's continual. I mean,
it's constantly changing.
Yeah, it's constantly changing, and sometimes you take on clients and there's a risk involved. Sometimes you do a project, you invest in building out platforms, in whether it's building an app or you're starting up businesses. The risk is there's no guarantee that it's going to work. So and still, been doing this over 10 years now. I mean, just this past year, I've done things that are very risky, even financially risky, but the risk involved, like they say, the bigger the risk, the bigger the payout. Right. So that's kind of a dynamic about entrepreneurship, that there's continual risk involved. So she's very supportive in the fact that she had seen me do things and go from, basically, it was incredible when I look back at it, because when I first got started, there wasn't a whole lot of people doing internet marketing. Now everybody has an agency, everybody's running Facebook ads. It's kind of cliche to say do it now, but there wasn't a whole lot of people doing this, and even the phrase "make money online" is kind of like sounded shady. Like, how can you make money online? Yeah. But she had saw that I had systems and had some clients, and I was making money. So she was supportive. Not to say that she wasn't, nervous
about concerns. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it within a short time after that, we started to reap the dividends of that, that Christmas bonus.
Yeah. But I'm curious of what is that conversation like? Like, how does one approach their spouse, even though you still have evidence, but still having the conversation is another thing.
So looking back at it, I think it was probably a conversation like this. Where'd my Christmas bonus go?
You just took it?
I'm like, just hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna give it back. And so to say that there was a conversation, I don't know if there really was a conversation. Just kind of like, but I mean, that's a blessing. I've been married now for almost 25 years, and we started dating when I was in high school and stuff. So it's kind of a relationship that, you know, we went from times that we were, I say homeless, and that's maybe an exaggeration, but we didn't have a home. We traveled around. We were kind of, I guess maybe nomads would be a better word. But so, you know, so it was kind of one of those things that we always learned to live beneath our you know, what we had, and so it wasn't a Christmas bonus, was kind of an extra. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those conversations where it's like, probably had it after I started using it. So maybe it wasn't the best way to do it, right. But it was just kind of one of those things that, again, an abundance of support, an abundance of trust she had in me. And now, you know, she, again, this is years later after doing this, she was working an exhausting schedule at a hospital as an administrator, sometimes 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah. Now,
through the labors of building our business online, she has the luxury to stay at home, and obviously we get to travel, go on vacations, and you know, so it's been a blessing. So it's just, I guess, one of those relationships where you trust each other and it works out. So
and I'm curious, like, do you have clients that come face up with this when they're ready to make a jump, because they come to hire you because they want to increase their sales, make money online, but they need to have that conversation with their spouse? Like, how do you coach? Has it ever happened to you with one of your clients, and how do you coach them and take them through a process that has that happen?
Yeah. So when it comes to internet marketing, there is risk, and unfortunately, within the industry, people don't necessarily fully disclose how risky it can be.
Right.
You only see the highlight reel of everybody that has had the success. You know, I hear guys about how I made $100,000 in a month. Well, I got stories I can tell you how I lost $100,000. And so I always try to tell people, look, it's risky. There's absolutely no guarantee that this is going to work. Of course, through our experience, we can look at people's opportunities, people's courses, or what they have to offer. And we can say, you know what, there's a high likelihood that this could be successful. This has got an above average opportunity of success. But, you know, if we had some type of magic formula that we could start a course and it's wildly successful every time, you know, be sitting on a private islands and everything like that. So it's kind of a season of, you know, we got something, and then you have to find something else, and you get something, and so it's always about building around the successes to a bigger success. But so sometimes you got to have those conversations with the clients that, hey, you know, are you really ready to make this type of risk? And sometimes we discourage people. We've had clients where we discourage them. We don't think this is going to work. And, you know, we try to be, it's like you just got that feeling like, I don't think this is going to work. And we tell them, I don't think this is going to work. This doesn't, and we try to decline them. And then it's kind of like, well, I want to try it. And I always tell my marketing director, James, I'm like, man, we can't squash people's dreams. You know, they've got a dream. We got to let them try it at least.
Wow.
All the tools necessary to try it. And, you know, sometimes we have been surprised. We're like, wow, I didn't think it was going to work, but it did. So.
Right. Wow. I really love that. And I'm curious of, like, you know, and for myself, as a person who's growing as a coach, like I came across this thing of like self-worth, and like, you know, had a introduction session with a new client, and she was like, you know, you're really good, and I'm surprised of like how low you charge. So it's like all this thing, I got hit with this thing of like my worth. So I'm curious of like, because you have clients like, Ty Lopez and like Gary Vee. And so
let me just mention, as far as Gary Vee, I've met him in
okay.
in a class.
Right.
But yeah, Ty Lopez, we work with Ty Lopez, we work with Bob Proctor, who's
which I love, yeah. And I'm curious, as you are growing, like, had you ever dealt with your self-worth and how much you're worth and how much you're charging? Like, how did you deal with that? And how did you just raise the prices? Like, I have a due date for myself to raise my prices.
Oh no, that's a great question, because when I first got started, I remember building websites for $400 or $500, which I thought was great, because back then I was making $400 or $500 a week. So if I could build a website and it'd take me 2 or 3 days worth of work, $400 or $500, that was great. And I remember I was getting several clients, and I was staying busy. And one of my first bigger clients was a friend of mine, and he was CEO of a company, and he was talking about me doing marketing consulting for his company. And he said, you're going to have to meet with my directors, pitch them and talk to them. So, it's not just me making the decision. I said, I understand that. So I put my presentation together, and he said, I want to meet with you for breakfast. This was the day before I was going to do my presentation to him. I sat down and had breakfast with him, and we went through the presentation. He's like, I like it. He's like, so how much are you going to charge? And I gave him the price, and he shook his head. He said, Paul, no. He said, add a 0. And I was like, really? And again, what a great friend,
right.
CEO of the company. He tells me charge him more. And I said, really? I said, it's not a whole lot of work. What I'm going to be doing for you, it's not going to be a lot of work. And he said, Paul, you're not charging us based upon how long it takes you to do this work. You're charging us based upon the knowledge that you have. And he gave me the example. He said, when you go to a doctor and a doctor does a surgery on you, maybe the surgery only takes 20 minutes to do. He doesn't charge you $200 and say, it only took me 20 minutes to do it, because he's charging you based upon what he knows. So it's more than just your time based in minutes and hours, but it's what you know and understand the value. And I think sometimes it's easy to not know your value when you're so accustomed. Like, I can sit down and I can talk about high level marketing to some of the top guys in the world, and to me it's just kind of like, it's like you look at this board behind me, and I got words like conversions and pixel
right.
Stuff like that, CPMs, and I can break down funnels, and I can look at a funnel, I can tell you change this and it'll increase your conversion by 10%.
Right.
And to me it's like, it's basic knowledge. Like, I know it because I'm so familiar with it, but to the average person, the knowledge that you have and the experience that you have, that's where the real value lies. So it's more than just a time being measured, but it's your experience, your knowledge, and results that you've been able to deliver that makes your value.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was talking to another coach yesterday. She was just like, right, I had helped her in her relationship and where she is with her love life. And she was like, you know what you know inside and out. So your worth is far more than you think you are. And it takes somebody like with your friend to ask you to add another 0.
No, so here on a practical business sense, more than just a self-worth, self-value, this is one thing that you'll see is if all of your clients, and we'll just use numbers, just round. Let's say you're charging all of your clients $500 for consulting. Every client that you connect with, they will be $500 clients, because you'll connect with this person, give them a $500 consultation. They'll be really happy, and they'll say, hey, Jimmy did an awesome job, and you need to call him up and they'll say, how much is he? And he's like, oh man, he charged me $500. And they're like, oh, okay, that's great. And so the people that they refer to you will also be $500 budget clients. But when you get a $5,000 client for a consultation, you consult them, you're doing a good job, you get the results, they're happy. Guess what? The people within their circle, they are going to say, hey, Jimmy did an awesome job. You need to talk to him. He did a great job. How much is he? $5,000. And they're like, oh man, that's cool. Because their social structure and, financials, like that, it's all the same. So people that are wanting a $500 website, all their friends, they want $500 websites too. But a person that you do a $5,000 website for, their friends that they talk to, they've already sold it and said, yeah, it's $5,000. So by the time they talk to you, they already know it's $5,000. So you learn that you'll get a lot of no's, but let's say you get 5 people that say no to $5,000, but you get one that says yes, well, you still win raising your prices. So.
Right. So even if you get all those no's, it only takes that one client who's in that bracket to talk to the other friends who are in that bracket.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I'm curious too now, is that an issue when you're coaching your clients to get them to move from one bracket to another? Do you say to them you're charging too low? Do you say to them we need to up level your game so you can, I'm not sure how that works, but.
Yeah, so a lot of our clients are entrepreneur, have digital products, digital courses and everything like that. So kind of within the internet world, there is, I guess you would say, certain levels of pricing for whether it's a digital course, whether it's a mastermind, and conferences. There's kind of like a unwritten rule of pricing that, okay, if you are at this level, you can charge this much. But yeah, so I think sometimes you have to evaluate a person's, their experience, who they are, and their branding and their name. And it's an interesting thing when it comes to internet marketing in particular, that your digital presence, your branding, all of that really is a big deal when it comes to what you can charge. Because if you're this individual that nobody's heard of, then people are very leery of paying a high price. But if you're this person that, man, everywhere they go, they see you online, they see you with influential people and stuff, then it's kind of like, there may be a guy that has the same level of knowledge, the raw knowledge, but just because an individual has a robust online presence and they've got relationships with key people, their knowledge can be exactly the same as this guy, but they can put a higher price tag just because of their online presence and the relationships that they have.
Yeah, and I'm like, you said something really interesting too. And this is what, when I first started out struggling with, because you were saying how when you're first starting out, people get leery, who are you? What are you saying?
Sure.
And I had a coach one time. He wanted me to charge even lower than what I wanted to charge, and I ended up sort of meeting it halfway. And that's almost kind of regretted doing that.
Yeah.
How do you coach someone who just starting out to charge a certain amount without undervaluing themselves?
Yeah. So I think all you have to do is get one person at that higher price tag.
Same thing. Okay.
All you have to do is get one person at the higher price tag, and then and obviously you have to deliver results.
Right.
you have to give good results, and then you can take that person and say, hey, would you do a testimonial for me? And then you kind of leverage that experience, that that level, And again, it will attract people that are accepting of that price tag. So it's one of those things that again, you have to be prepared for a bunch of people to say no.
Yeah.
But you know that so I think there has to be a stream of opportunity. It's hard to just say, hey, I'm going to charge 10 times what I normally charge, and you don't have a lot of opportunities come your way. Because I think that there's a lot of times in starting a business, getting started, you take on whatever you can get, just bills, you know what I mean? And so but there's ways that you can break into a higher caliber and a higher tier, higher clientele that are willing to pay more. And that's just about the people that you associate with. I look back, and again, you've just heard a part of my story, but there was times when the car got repoed, the house got foreclosed on, lights turned off, and the whole story. But I can tell you that just a couple of years ago, I was asked to speak at a mastermind where everybody that was invited to it had to have a net worth of $50 million or more. So here I am, I'm this guy that, of course, in your mind, if you've gone through stuff like that and you were brought up in a low income household and stuff like that, there's kind of like this, you're intimidated by people with wealth. They're different, you think that they put their pants on differently, or they walk around with an English accent and the nose in the air, and
in the Hamptons and stuff.
Little peasant, go away. That's not a good thing, but when you realize that, man,
they're just people.
They're just people. And so you build relationships with people like that. And so
I think I'm learning myself to not put people on pedestals and they're just people, like take their title away and just keep them like I'm you and me, and it makes a whole difference within the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious about what tips or offers, so I want to move into this different bracket of clientele. Like, what are some steps that, because I don't that's I guess my own personal question, to look for that particular client? Like, how did you, or what tips can you offer to say, okay, this is the kind of clientele that makes this certain kind of money. What steps do I do in order to move into that direction?
Yeah. So I think it's proximity is everything. So you have to be around people. We talk about going from $500 to $5,000, but I mean, there's going from $500 to $50,000. That it can change that quickly. It can honestly change that quickly. I thank God for this. It's still amazing to me that I do coaching, I do mentoring, and I've been paid to speak at events that I get paid more for an hour than I used to make in a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just incredible to look at that. So it can really change quickly. Obviously, you've got to have results. You can't just say, I'm worth $50,000. If you can't deliver results, you're not worth anything.
Right.
So you got to have results. You got to have the testimonials. You got to have people that would validate you on that. But then, man, you just get around. You go to events. You go to fundraisers. You go to places and you socialize. You connect. That was, people often ask me, if you were to go back in time 10 years and change something in your business, what would you do? And it would be two things. Number one, I used to be this guy that I was doing big stuff online. I mean, I was working with some really cool clients, but I stayed behind my computer and I stayed quiet. I didn't socialize. I didn't want anybody really even knowing what I was doing because it was kind of like a self-defense mechanism that I was trying to all to myself, you know, and which looking back is probably a mistake. So I would change that, where I used to not go to events. I used to not go to conferences and stuff, because again, I wanted to kind of protect myself, protect my clientele. They want, you know, that competition and stuff. But then I realized that one of the biggest assets is relationships.
Yeah.
So go to events, go to networking, go to, you know, like New York is such a cool place that, you know, you can go on Eventbrite and there's something going on every day of the week that is cool stuff. So I just go to these events and meet people and shake hands and exchange cards and, you know, follow me on Instagram and stuff, and just have a huge network of relationships and be sincere about it. And then secondly, I'd have a mentor, you know, someone that is on that level that I want to be, someone that has already 10x their business and, you know, 10x their consult fee and stuff. And I would you know, ask them to be my mentor. Or, you know, actually I don't tell people to ask if you can be, you know, because I every day I have someone message me, will you be my mentor? Will you be my mentor? And I'm like, what you're saying is, will you coach me for free?
Right.
So what a good way to do that, and I've done this and I've met some incredible people. When I first got going, I worked with A-list celebrities, I worked with Fortune 500 companies, top entrepreneurs, and how I did that is I connected with them. You know, maybe that's the challenging part. First is connected with them, and then just say, hey, what can I do for you? Can I do something for you? And just give to you. Hey, can I help manage this for you? Can I do your graphics for you? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I assist you? And you give from them. And most people, they're not going to say, no, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you do something. Right. Think about it. It's like you could get I tell young guys, message some of these big entrepreneurs, ask them if you can volunteer, if you can just do something in their office and everything like that. And it's basically, you're putting yourself in a place where you can get connected with some really cool people just by volunteering your time and your assets and resources.
I really love that. I'm gonna take a lot of that on for myself, because I think it's been calling me to like network even more, you know, and just literally put it on my calendar to do it, you know.
Yeah, and just find that, like, you can find some cool people, like you. There's people that, you know, they have just a tremendous amount of influence. They're well connected. They have a good network. And I would just say to that person, hey man, can I do this for you? How can I add value to what you're doing? I like what you're doing. And just build that relationship in a sincere way, and it'll come back.
Yeah, I like when you keep saying sincere, because I was just recently listening to the podcast with you and Anthony Delgado, who's a friend of mine as well. And and it was something you were saying about when people approach you, especially on this topic, of like you were saying like you wasn't sure if like, are you sincerely want me to like coach, or you want to do something for free, or trying to pick my brain. That's what it was, having conversations, want to have dinner, but basically you just want something
yeah.
You know. And I'm curious of like, because I've been running to this issue where sometimes I even hesitate. I'm just curious too, like to even say that I'm a relationship coach, because people automatically want to get advice from me. Or even like as I'm dating now, like all of a sudden it's not dating anymore. It's about, what do you think about my old relationship? What do you think about this? And it's like I feel like in an odd position, like it's all of a sudden I'm coaching this person, but this is not what I want. But like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so that is so my personal life and business life has several different layers. In addition to an internet marketer, I'm also a pastor. So you can imagine sitting down with someone, and it's kind of like the same position. Like people like they want some type of counseling, or and sometimes you just want to have an authentic, real relationship. You don't want to have your brain picked and
right
like that. So yeah, I think now I'm very rarely, if a person says, hey, can we meet up for coffee or something like that? If they're here in the area, I'll meet up with them. And I know I'm going to get my brain picked. So, but I'm good at leading a conversation and giving them enough for them to be interested. And then I'm like, hey, if you want to pick my brain some more, it's going to come with a price tag. So that's, again, understanding your worth. It's just not, and I tell people that, I'm like, look, and obviously you can kind of like frame it this way. Look, man, I enjoy talking about this, and we could probably talk all day about this, but I've got students, I've got, people that would probably be really upset if they knew that I was doing it for free.
I know, right?
But it's what's cool is if you have some type of online course, or maybe you have videos about teaching, you say, hey, you know what I want to do though? Let me give you access to one of my courses that it probably answer a lot of your questions. And then it's like your time, you kind of like, you put yourself in a position where you do understand your value, and you put them in a position where they have to understand your value too.
Right.
If they want to pick your brain and have conversations, pulling that knowledge out of you, that it comes with a price tag. And I've had people say, hey, let's set up a coaching call. I want to do this. I'm really, I've learned a lot. So, but it is cool to have kind of like a backup plan, like you have some videos or something. Yeah. Hey, let me send you some of these videos that really answer a lot of your questions, because then it kind of like takes that, because nobody wants to come across like, oh, I'm too good to talk to you about this,
Right.
So you can just kind of like, hey, let me give you all this, some of these videos that answer questions for you,
Yeah, and I really you love what you're saying, because it's like, for me, as a relationship coach, this is my commitment, who I say I am for the world, and I don't want to not give something. I know I can add value to this person right now, and I don't want to diminish anything between us. At the same time, it's going back to what we were saying earlier, like knowing your worth, knowing how to bring it back, and I guess for me to knowing how to bring it back to the conversation and still add value and still take a stand for my own worth at the same time. No, that's sometimes I'll joke around with people. They start trying to pick my brain or want me to do stuff, consulting for free. I'll tell them, like, hey, my church is a nonprofit. My business is I love that. I really love your Instagram, like just all the quotes and things that you say, and it's like, you probably see me reposting in my story, and they're just like, there's a couple of them stand out. Let me see, like you were saying how like a negative mind would never give you the positive life.
Yeah. No, I mean, when it comes to who we are, and that the negativity, the people that we're connected with, it really is a choice. It really is a choice. It's not always an easy choice, but if you're always connected to negative people, you're feeding yourself negative content, and it weighs on you. And I always tell people, there's some people that you're happy when you see them coming, and there's other people you're happy when you see them go. I always want to be that person that people are happy when they see me coming. So, so it's you want to You want to be positive, and positivity is a choice.
But I want to expand on what you just said, which is really great. Why is it a choice? Because I sometimes see entrepreneurs or people pursuing something, and they're just saying, well, this is the way I am.
Yeah.
So why is it a choice? Like, can you speak more about that?
Yeah, that's sometimes people use that excuse. This is the way I am, and it's just an excuse to justify bad behavior.
Yes.
So ignorant, and they'll say things like this. Well, if you knew the way that I was brought up, if you knew what I went through, then you would know why I'm so angry, I'm so depressed, I'm so, whatever the negative attribute
Yes.
might be. But on the other side, you can see another person that has went through just as much mess as that individual, but they have chosen to be positive in it. And so, when it comes to issues and things like that, I think sometimes people, they use that as an excuse because they haven't gotten over it, haven't forgiveness. It could be a lot of different things, and
right.
So you can never justify your past or present day bad behaviors or bad attitudes, because there's somebody sitting right next to you that has went through just as much junk.
Yeah.
And they're happy, they're positive, they have a great disposition. And so what makes your situation any different? It's just how you deal with it. So that's not to minimize anybody's pain or personal issues or anything like that, but man, you empower those negative situations in your life by just dwelling on it and blaming it for your bad behavior.
Right, yeah, and I tell my clients too, it's like you're choosing to hold on this bad breakup, and that very choice of holding on to the past is directly affecting every single relationship that you have in entrepreneurship as well. It's like a bad situation, you choosing to hold on to that is directly affecting and coloring your language, your behavior, and how you directly, and you're attracting those same negative people into your life.
It's like you can get around people, and like really quickly when you start to connect with them, you're like, they've been burnt.
Right.
They don't trust anybody. They're just, and it's tough because you feel like they're not trusting me, and there's not that solid connection. It's because they haven't really gotten over that.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, you hate on what you're giving up on. A lot of people, they'll say, oh man, all guys are dogs, all women, they're just nasty and everything like that. It's because they've given up. They've had bad experiences, bad relationships, and they've just given up. And so they want everybody else to feel the same way about it that they do. Right. And that's always the best thing. You gotta, instead of giving up on it, you gotta get over it.
I mean, other than staying positive, how you as a coach maintain like being humble, positive? I mean, do you have, other than your mentor, do you have a coach? Like, how do you maintain how do you disrupt yourself, and how do you maintain like this mental attitude?
Yeah, well, my faith in Jesus Christ is, the centerpiece of my success, my disposition of who I am, and that the principles of God's word and all of those, I think that can be a guide for anybody. And so you have to have that. You have to have, and of course, my family, I've got a wonderful wife and 3 children. They keep me grounded. And, it's like, I'll go to events, and people want to get selfies with me, and it's all cool and everything like that. People recognize me and stuff. But when I come home, I'm Dad, I'm Paul, that's it. Yeah. So it's kind of a, you have to, in some ways, you kind of have to divide your personal life, who you are, and your business life, that success. Don't allow your successes to define who you are, just like he wouldn't allow your failures to define who you are. Because what you possess and those material accomplishments, those really don't define who you are.
Right, exactly.
Your family, your relationships, and that's irreplaceable. Really.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what spiritual verse that keeps you grounded, that you go to all the time?
Yeah, I can quote scripture all day.
But I'm sure there's one that, well, maybe I'm sure it's several.
Yeah.
So you go back to over and over. This reminds you.
If you dig on YouTube and everything like that, you can find some videos of me preaching at church here.
Okay.
But so I've got several scriptures that I think really encourage me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthen me. So it's not my own personal strength, but it's my strength through God. I'm more than a conqueror through Jesus Christ. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
But what does that mean to you? Like, when you go to it, like, what does it allow you to do in the face of?
Yeah. So let's for example, let's take the verse, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. That just says, okay, weapons are going to be formed. So there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be oppositions, there's going to be attacks, but it's not going to defeat me. So when you look at attacks, setbacks, pains and trials as something that can actually strengthen you, tear you down, then it's almost empowering. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to come out better on the other side of this. A lot of times what people do is when they go through hard times, they run.
Yes.
Sometimes they run and they lose the opportunity for something greater on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, if you're always running from your problems, you're always running from difficulties, and you're always going to be running.
Right. What I'm hearing in that, like, no weapon formed. I forgot the verse, but I know Fred Hammond made a.
No weapon formed. Fred Hammond, yeah.
Yes, no weapon formed against shall prosper. It was like, and this is what I teach my clients too. Like and what I'm all like for the first time when you said it, like, there is an opportunity here for me to grow in this. That's why no weapons formed against me shall prosper, because now, in the face of this, I can get, like what you said on the other side, the opportunity is the growth that is strengthening me to keep going forward. And if I'm running, I'm missing out on the opportunity that universe, God has presented me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's through valleys, through storms, through trials, we're strengthened. And so you have to look at it as, it's not a setback, but it's a setup.
So yeah, I love that. Thank you, Paul. So coming to the end, so ask a couple of quick questions and see what comes to mind. So what does a life of love mean to you?
Well, I can get my wife in here, right?
To you.
Really a lot of times people define love in just a superficial way, like it's emotion, it's a feeling, something like that. Oh, I'm so in love. And obviously in every relationship you have that feeling, oh, I'm so in love. But really, love is more than that. Love is a decision, and love is a commitment. That's, sometimes it's lost its meaning when people limit it to just some type of emotional feeling. I think the emotional feeling is great, but there's times when in a relationship where you're going through stressful times, and it's kind of like I tell people, the butterflies got up and flew away. And you just have to be committed. You just have to be committed. And there's seasons of ups and downs. You just have to be committed. And on the other side of that, love is security. So.
And what has your kids taught you about love, about entrepreneurship, and about life? Yeah,
so I tell you what, I think every parent would probably say, like, your children, they're the love of your life and everything like that. Blessed with 3. They're not children anymore. My daughter just got married, and she is expecting a baby girl in December.
First grandkid?
Yeah, first grandkid. And my two sons are in college, so they're not kids anymore. They're grown adults. And but the and I tell you what, I would give anything and everything for them. And they really teach you how to be selfless. You know, it's just it's about them. And every good parent would you lay down your life for your kids, whatever they need. And so they, of course, you heard a little bit about my story we went through tough times and stuff. My kids, I remember years ago when we were delivering phone books for, I think we got like $40 a night to do it. Big old phone book. I don't think they have phone books anymore, but my kids, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, in the minivan, and we were delivering phone books. So they understood the hustle and the struggle. Now they, we've been blessed with a great business, and we've helped people make millions of dollars, which to me, it's still kind of to believe. So they've seen that journey and that struggle of entrepreneurship, and I think they are probably one of the very balanced in it, where they have access to, if they came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can I have X amount of dollars?" I'd say, "Yeah, here you go." I would do that. But they want to work. They want to earn it themselves. They don't want something just given to them. And I think a part of that is because they saw the struggle and the adversity that we went through to get to where we were, so they appreciate it even more.
And lastly, what does a juicy love life looks like to you?
Oh man, it's gonna get X-rated here. We can't. Man, I thought this was gonna be marketing, man.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
I gotta cover up the camera. Bro, why you throw that question on me? Man, make me blush. Lord Jesus, help me. Let me say this. It's none of your business what that looks like. You
don't have to be explicit. I ain't talking about that.
I guess maybe it's the word juicy that you got. Let's say, what is a good love life?
Okay, good.
So I think it's probably it's communication, being able to communicate at any level, being able to share with that person you love anything and everything, plain and simple, without fear of judgment, hesitation. I mean, it's just clear communication. This is what it is, and you don't. It's communication, being able to talk at any level about anything that will lead to a great love life.
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you, Paul, for being here. And where can people find you online?
Well, I tell you what, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Paul.
Paul.
Paul. A-U-L, Paul. So, and also my business Instagram, I don't know if you followed it, it's Nerds, N-E-R-D-S. Yeah, so the Paul is kind of a personal motivation and inspiration. I think you've seen that. And our Instagram name, Nerds, is business and entrepreneur type content there. So either two of those, you can send me a message on Instagram, and either me or my personal assistant will respond and get in contact with you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again. I just just want to acknowledge you just for just who you are and what you provide for the world. And
thank you, Jimmy.
I do get so inspired by everything you write, and just like what you're saying, and learning so much from you just by being here for you. And I can see that you add such great value to everybody that you meet in contact with.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I really appreciate the invitation here on your podcast. Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.